Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much, friends, wherever you've joined us from. I'm saying this because we have viewers from across the globe, so it makes me very happy to welcome each one of you to another insightful episode that we're about to have here at Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Napasa Pradhan, and before I introduce you to today's topic and the guest for today, I have this important disclaimer I need to read out. And that is by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. Once again, friends, thank you so much for joining us. And we are streaming live right now on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And we really appreciate your participation and your enthusiasm, for our discussions on immigration matters. So I'd say wherever you're watching us from, if you have any queries, any questions, which you want to probably ask our guest today directly, why not drop them in the comments? We'll be very happy to take them. But otherwise, hello once again, and welcome to this webinar. We're going to have a very interesting discussion. And I think before I tell you about the topic, please help me welcome a very special guest once again who's going to share with us his wealth of knowledge and experience in this show. So please help me welcome once again Eric G Morin, who is a retired Foreign Service officer with an impressive 20-year career servicing as a consular officer in the Department of State. Well, friends, he is an Udeti visa consultant. How are you doing, Eric? Thank you so much for joining us once again today. So good to have
Uh,
you.
I am doing very well. Thank you very much for having me again. Good afternoon or good evening to everybody out there. And if I can just say at the very start, it's the start of the Olympics, so I got to say go Team USA. But I wish all the competitors good luck and success in the Olympic Games.
Absolutely. And for folks out there who probably seeing Eric for the first time, maybe Eric, you could just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course. So, as you said, I worked for 20 years at the U.S. Department of State as a Foreign Service officer, doing visa work all over the world, in countries ranging from Azerbaijan to Venezuela, and in all parts in between. I've worked on lots of different embassies, and I've been in charge of and been concerned with doing visa issuance for both non-immigrant visas, such as tourist visas and student visas, but also immigrant visas and such as the diversity visa as well as the general immigration visas. So now I've retired and I've started working as a visa consultant with Udeti Visa. If you take a look at the banner on the screen, you'll be able to see our contact information, and we're available for your individual consultations with that information down there. So please reach out to us if you would like an individual consultation with either myself or one of the other consultants, and we're happy to help.
Thank you so much, Eric. And we're truly honored to have you with us today on this show.
Thank you.
And friends, without further ado, let me tell you about our topic for today. It's going to be very interesting. And the topic is how to be successful in the DV lottery from application to interview. The whole process we're going to touch, and Eric is going to probably give us some tips and prepare us on how we can prepare ourselves for a good DV lottery. So, Eric, if you can tell our viewers who've joined us, what can they expect from this episode from
Well,
us?
sure. So let me just kind of take a step back and let me kind of introduce the topic of the diversity visa lottery. So back in 1995, this program started, and what it does is this was a visa program authorized by the U.S. Congress that set the rules for immigration to the United States from countries that have been less representative of immigrants in the past. So these are from countries that traditionally have not been able to immigrate to the United States in large numbers. So the reason that this program was started was to ensure the diversity of the American culture. And as a lot of people know, America is considered a melting pot of people from all over the world. And this program is designed for people who are from countries that don't send a lot of immigrants to the United States, to give these countries the opportunities to immigrate to the U.S. and therefore increase the diversity of the people that are living and that are immigrating into in the United States. This is considered to be a public benefit. The United States is, it welcomes immigrants from all over the world, and we wanted to give opportunities again to countries that are maybe smaller and don't have the ability to sponsor family immigration. And so this is a wonderful program. In it, about 55,000 visas are approved annually for people from these countries to again to immigrate to the United States.
So it's entirely a lottery then, and uh, so diversity
Yes.
visa lottery. So anybody from the world, well, we will get to
Yeah.
who is eligible for a DV lottery,
Hmm.
but otherwise, I mean, it's a diversity visa and it's purely
Yeah.
a lottery. So it's
Yeah.
purely on luck, right?
So basically, how this is done is the system has been set up is that people who are from eligible countries are basically apply online and they put their name in the hat, and the application to put your name in the to put your name for consideration for the to receive one of these DVs is completely free. So anywhere, anyone from around the world can take can take some time, fill out the application. It's done online, and then they have just as much chance as pretty much anyone else. So to anyone else to secure one of these 55,000 visas. The last information I have is that this program is very popular, and from the last numbers that I have is that in 2023 there were about 9.5 million entries into this into this lottery. So people, the lottery window is open for about a month and a half from October to November every year, and then these names are selected, and then in March, excuse me, then in May of the next year, these people are notified of their of their being selected for the for the DV. Um, so again, it's a relatively small number. Consider all of the global interest, but again, it is available to everyone, and everyone has a chance to to put their name in. There are several different strategies that people can use to increase their chances, and then there are also different ways that people can be more successful in the interview and in the document preparation stage, which is something that I can talk about further.
Absolutely, and we are all looking forward to diving deeper into diversity visa and the whole lottery process today. But
Yes.
maybe just in short, tell us if it is a non-immigrant visa, an immigrant visa, and or is it like a job visa or a tourist visa kind of a thing?
Well, you know what? It's a very interesting type of visa because U.S. Immigration law for people who are wishing to immigrate to the United States, that is to move permanently to the United States and to live there and work there and make it their home, is usually based on either a family, basically having a family member in the United States who can petition you, or to have an employer basically arrange for a job. This is usually for people with high tech skills or in industries where there's a demand for skilled labor. So
Hmm.
those are usually the two main ways for people to immigrate legally to the United States. And this was an interesting third way because with the diversity visa, you don't have to have family members in the United States. And you also
Yeah.
don't have to have a job offer before your visa is approved. It's basically being selected by the luck of the draw, making and meeting the qualifications, and then you are given this visa to go and establish yourself and immigrate to into the U.S. as you wish. So in that way, it is considered technically an immigrant visa, but it's really unusual because it is not family based and it is not employer based. It is
Super
not a
interesting.
non-immigrant visa because people who get the DV are on the track on the immediate track to acquire their permanent residency cards, and then later on, if they wish, become citizens. So this is what all immigrant visas do with the with the understanding and with the intention that the people that receive these types of visas will be able to eventually become citizens and live permanently in the United States.
So interesting. Well, we will just get to know DV lottery and the DV visa, the diversity visa
Yeah.
properly in this episode today, friends. And as you can already see, Eric, the first question on the screen, since you've already introduced us to the diversity visa,
Hmm.
and let's get into the lottery process then. And also, if you can
Sure.
give us an overview, from application to the interview, what are the
Sure.
steps
So
involved?
So with the diversity visa, I keep talking about underrepresented countries or countries that send many immigrants to the United States already, because the law was designed for countries that do not send a lot of immigrants. So every year, we determine which countries have sent a large number of immigrants to the United States, or from which a large number of people have immigrated to the United States. And those countries are excluded from participating in the lottery. So these types of countries are usually the ones that you would think of, populous countries that have maybe a large amount of contacts with the United States, and therefore there are lots of ways for these people to immigrate through immigrant visas to the United States. So just the top six, China, India, Pakistan, in Asia, Nigeria from Africa, Brazil, and Venezuela in the United States. There are several more, but those countries, citizens, people from those countries are not eligible for the DV. However, if you are not from one of those countries, the smaller countries such as Ghana, such as Nepal, such as South Africa, something like that, then this is an opportunity for you to put your name in and enter the lottery. So if you are if you meet the country qualification, then you have met the one of the primary one of the two primary qualifications for the visa. So you have to be from the correct country. And second of all, you have to have a minimum of a high school education or 2 years of work experience that required some type of technical training or the equivalent. So this is a pretty low bar, because I think in most countries and most people are going to have at least a high school or a secondary education, and that's the other qualification. The belief being is that anyone who is at least moderately educated should be able to come to the United States and be able to establish themselves in a career and provide for themselves. So when you're looking at what are the qualifications, who can enter a DV visa, it's pretty wide. Having a high school or better education and being from one of the countries that does not send a lot of people to the United States. So as long as you meet those two qualifications, then you can go ahead and enter the and enter the DV lottery.
Had cases like these, like people who are entering into the TV lottery, um, if they're not coming for work, and if they do not even have family, what do they really come for? And maybe they come to the US first and then apply for a job later. Is it something like that?
Well, yes, exactly. So the diversity visa, it allows someone the right to enter the United States with the intent of immigrating and living permanently. However, it does not offer a guaranteed job. There is no guarantee of your travel. There is no guarantee of any social benefits or anything like that. It just opens the door and allows any people who receive these visas for them and their family to be able to enter the U.S. and restart their lives. It gives them the opportunity, and I'm just amazed that every year 9 million, 10 million, 20 10 million, 11 million people actively seek to come to the United States because they do see the U.S. as a land of opportunity. So I'm really pleased that there is this chance for these people to take that chance and to come up and try their luck at the American dream. So the
Absolutely,
first
and I think people really want to go to America, and other countries may not be on the news as much, but when it's American news, I think the whole world is really, really watching and paying attention to. So I'm sure. Yes, you were saying something, Eric. Sorry for
Well,
interrupting.
I'm as an American, I'm just so proud that my country is seen, worldwide as a beacon of hope, as a land of economic possibility, a land where people can be successful no matter where they come from, and I think that is the American dream, and that's why I think so many people from all over the world, can really want to be a part of that, because it really is not where you're from, not your it's based on just what you can do in yourself. So I think that's the quintessential part of being American. So going back to what the program is it's an online application. So meeting the qualifications, you go to a certain website, which is sponsored by the U.S. Department of State. You enter
Mhm.
the information, and then during that window when the program is open, and then in the spring the names are selected. So what happens is that even though 55,000 visas are authorized to be issued, what usually happens is that there are more names selected to from the first drawing, from the first go through. Usually about double that number are selected. So just because a person has made that first cut, has made it for that first selection, it is not necessarily guaranteed that a visa is going to be issued. A lot of names that are selected, people decide not to use it. They decide that they don't want to take advantage of this opportunity. Maybe there is some reason why they don't meet the education qualifications, so they eventually end up not being able to receive a visa. There might be other ineligibilities, like any other visa category that would make them ineligible for traveling to the United States, such as a criminal conviction, such as a health concern, such as ties to criminal or terrorist organizations, or anything else that would make someone ineligible. So in May, people are encouraged to check back with the Department of State website to see if they made that first selection. And then once if they have been selected, then they will then be put on a list and the order that they are randomly put on a list, and then they will then be invited for interviews up until the amount of visas is reached. So the process starts. The process of issuing visas starts, like in March or April, and the embassies try to process all of the diversity visas so that everyone has had a chance to use their visa by the time the program ends in September. The program is rather limited, and any visas that are not issued by September are just go away. The State Department is no longer authorized to use them. So consular officers really try to issue and to interview and issue as many people as possible within that short time frame, that 4 to 5 month time frame.
Okay. Thank you, Eric, for clearing that out. And that leads me
Of
to the
course.
second question, and half of it is something you've already answered. So,
Hmm.
who is eligible to apply for the DV lottery? You have already told us you need a
Yeah,
secondary school. The minimum qualification is the secondary school.
yeah.
And then, what are the key criteria that applicants must meet?
The key criteria is again being from the country of origin that is authorized to participate in the DV, and of having the meeting the educational requirements. That is, having at least a high school degree. In all my time that I've been working on processing DVs, there 99% of the people that have qualified with their educational qualifications. There is a carve out for work experience, but most of the people they're going to meet the work experience requirement are also going to have at least a high school degree. So although there is a carve out, it's not a requirement to have a high school degree. 99.99% of the people that I've interviewed qualified that way. So in reality, it's the education and it's the country of origin. Those are the two criteria.
Those are the key criteria. Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Eric. Thank you. So, folks, if you are eligible to apply for a DV lottery, there you have it. You know now.
Yeah.
Moving on, Eric, I got another question. And
Hmm.
also, at this moment, friends, I also wanted to tell you if you want to contact Eric directly, why not? You can also book a consultation with Udeti Visa, and he's an expert. All you have to do is use this promo code IT people, as you can see on top of the screen, and you can have a 15% discount on the consultation. You do a booking with Udeti. All right. So thank you so much, Eric. And yeah, oh, okay. So I'll just say hi to all you friends. Thank you for joining. Akbar, Neha, Shokat, Sarika, Norit, Mehna, Vijay, Choi, Jayesh. So many questions. I think we
Hmm.
should take up one for sure. And
Yes.
my team said, Vijay. Vijay is on YouTube asking, does having B2 rejection 2 to 3 years ago affected by the DV visa if selected?
Well, that DJ, that is a great question, and the short answer is no. This is one great thing about the DV is that having a prior refusal, and I'm going to assume it was for intending immigrant status. That's why most B2 visas are refused. The what we call the 214B. We did a whole episode on that a couple of weeks ago. Um, so as having that type of rejection on for a B2 visa does not in any way restrict you from applying for a DV. Um, Immigrant visas are a completely different set of it's a completely different type of visa from a non-immigrant visa. For a non-immigrant visa, you must establish to the consular officer that you are not intending to reside permanently in the United States. An immigrant visa, such as a family-based visa, such as an employer-based employment visa, or the DV, it is with the full understanding and the full expectation that this person will immigrate to the United States. So therefore, the requirement under 214B to not be an intending immigrant is absolutely null and void because by de facto you are an intending immigrant, and the right to immigrate is basically having been selected under this program. So having a prior 214B refusal for a student visa or for a another type of visa will absolutely not affect your qualifications for a DV. Absolutely not.
Thank you so much for taking that up for Vijay. And Vijay, thank you for your question as well. This is paired with Udeti channel. So thank you. Let's move on to the next one. This is from Jayesh. This is on YouTube as well. Hi here on December 23, I almost got
Yeah.
approved, but the VO at that time really want me to visit far country. At that time, I only visit Malaysia. On May 24, I have traveled to Russia with an e-visa.
Hmm. Okay,
Do
so
you
Ty, it
think I
sounds.
can go for B2 now, or is it better for me to visit Singapore or Japan? Both countries are free visa
Mhm.
to have better pattern of travel.
All right. Well, Jayesh, it sounds like that you are applying for a B1, B2 tourist visa or some other visa. You didn't really specify, but that's what I'm going to assume. Um, Consular officers look at a lots of different things when they are evaluating someone's qualifications for a B1, B2 visa, such as their ties, such as their family ties, such as their employment, such as financial ties, and
Mhm.
indeed another thing that these officers do look at is international travel. Um, Consular officers tend to believe that if someone has traveled appropriately internationally before, they are more likely to use their visa to the United States appropriately. So having additional travel can be, can help bolster your application for another B1 B2. Um, I would, but it's not, and it's not the entire thing. Having those two stamps or having traveled to those couple of countries is not going to be a guarantee that anything is going to be better for your
Mhm.
chances this time. You are still going to demonstrate that you have strong economic ties and strong family ties to your home country. So I don't know. It can help. It might help. But it's not a guarantee that anything else is going to be that your application this time is going to be any more successful. So decide. Think about that before you decide to make an expensive trip to Singapore or Japan. Travel to anywhere it can be expensive. So think about that before you decide to go ahead and take those trips.
Yeah, that makes it pretty clear. Thank you. Thank you for your question, Jayesh, and thank you, Eric, for taking that up.
I think there's a follow up where it said the VO told me at the interview you need to travel outside Asia if you want to apply again. Um, could be. At when I was doing visa interviews, I never told anyone if you do A or B, you will get your visa because I would not be interviewing that person the next time, and I don't know what the next consular officer would factor into their decision. So I refused. So I usually declined to give such definitive statements. It could be you were on the borderline, and some international travel might help. But I think the visa officer kind of made an error by saying that you giving you one specific box to tick to and say that your visa will be issued after that. That's really not the case because you will be seen by a different consular officer, and they may have a different view of your international travel. So yeah, take what she said kind of like with a bit of grain of salt, as we say in English. That in itself may or may not be enough to guarantee you the visa. So Just just be aware of that. But good luck to you, Jace.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for your suggestion. And Jayesh, I hope that answers your question. Thank you for your question once again. All right, let's move on now. I think we'll take up one more from our side, and then we'll move on to the questions from our folks out there.
Yeah, and if we
All
could
right,
take
Eric. Yeah,
Geetka's
Eric, you
question
said.
next because that's a really good one.
Sorry.
Yeah, after for the next audience question, let's do let's do this one because this was a really good question from Geetka.
Okay. Okay, this is Gitika. Do you know how
Excuse me.
the refusal rate for TV lottery for B2? What is the range of good income? Do you pay attention to the salary and past work section as well?
Okay, so I think she's asking about two different things, but what I wanted to talk about first was the refusal rate for the DV lottery. So the refusal rate is actually very low for the DV lottery. By the time you had been selected, and because people choose to enter the lottery themselves, and they know, and most people know the qualifications ahead of time. Very rarely did I see people who did not meet either the educational or the country of origin requirement. It's there. It says you have to be. There's it's just those two things. So by the time the people had already entered the lottery, had already been selected, had gone through their medical exams, and finally were coming to me for the interview, there was usually very few reasons to refuse a DV lottery. Once they actually came to the window. We were pretty much looking at other ineligibilities, such as criminal convictions, such as medical issues, such as terrorist connections, things like that. Um,
Mhm.
but we were also looking at family relationships. We were looking at spouses and children and things like that. Those documents. But as long as everything was okay with that, and then there were no other problems with the information that they provided on their DV application, it was approved. So I mean, I would just off the top of my head, I would probably say 95% of people that came up to the window for their DV interview got their visas because they've already self-selected that they met the qualifications, and as long as there were no other procedural errors, their visas were good to go. So now turning to
Wow.
the B2, what's the range of good income? Well, that's going to depend on on the country, and I'm going to assume that you are probably from India or Pakistan, somewhere in the Indian subcontinent. Um, and so I can't really assume that to know what is a good income for that country. What the consular officer is looking for is that it is appropriate for the trip that you want to take. They are looking to see if it is the trip that you want to take is feasible under the income that you're making, and they want to see if this is sort of realistic for your lifestyle based on your income. One good example would be when I was working in Azerbaijan. The average monthly income was about $500. When people would come to me and I would see that that was their income and they were planning a trip to New York, um, man, I would go through the costs with them, and it would end up being 3 or 4 times, or even 6 times their monthly income just for this short trip. To me, as a consular officer, that made no sense. Why would someone spend 6 months, half of a year's income, just for a short trip? However, if it was a rich oil executive, someone who worked in the oil and gas industry, or something like that, and and they were making quite a bit of money, then taking a 2 week trip to New York made a lot of sense because it was not that much of their overall yearly income. So the consular officers don't have a set income limit, but they do look at does this trip make sense for someone at your income level? And finally, do they pay attention to the salary and past work section? Yeah, we will take a look at that. We want to see how long you've been at the job. They want to see, is are you do you have a long career? Do you have a stable work history, or are there indications that this is a new job, or do you have a history of moving around a lot? So yeah, we do pay attention to both the past salaries and the past work section.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking that up for Gitika. And Gitika, truly very nice question. Well, I think we will surely take up all your questions from the audience. This is to you. You keep commenting, but I think it is time now for a short break. But before we
Sure.
go for the break, I would like to say that you can always contact Eric directly, and you can even book a consultation with Udeti Visa expert. And you just have to use this promo code, which is displayed on the screen on top. It's called IT People, and you will get a 15% discount from Udeti Visa. All right, so this is Eric G Morin, and he is Udeti Visa consultant, a retired U.S. Foreign Service officer, and you can even contact him directly on his number. His number is displayed on the screen. Please note it down. 630-303-6165. Once again, 630-303-6165. That is his number. You can even email Eric hello at udetivisa.com, and definitely go check out udetivisa.com to get to know more about Eric G Morin and also about Udeti Visa. So thank you so much, friends. Don't go anywhere because we'll just quickly go for a short break. And once we're back from the break, we will discuss further on the DV lottery and get to know how to prepare ourselves for it. All right. With none other than Eric G. Morin, our guest for today on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. This is Nipasa Pradhan.
Officer who adjudicated over 40,000 cases, I saw many applicants struggle to communicate their purpose of travel and finances during the visa interview. With better preparation, many could have secured their visa. At Udeti, I offer one-on-one visa interview strategy sessions. Let my experience be your guide so that you can ace your visa interview.
Consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H-1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us in the number 408-335-6444 or mail us at nipa@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.
Welcome back to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, friends. This is Napasa Pradhan, and I'm very happy to have you folks join us today on this very interesting and insightful discussion with none other than our guest for today, Eric G. Morin. And he is an retired foreign service officer and currently an Udeti visa consultant. So far, so good. Thank you so much, Eric, for being so enthusiastic and for all your energy that you're putting into this show because it's simply wow. You bring so much light to this show. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for those kinds words, Deposit. I do enjoy talking about about these types of visas and sharing my expertise because I know it can be a confusing process. So I'm here to help out whatever I can.
Thank you. Thank you. It is truly an honor and a pleasure to have you. And today's discussion is how to be successful in the DV lottery. And from application to interview, we have covered a little bit about who is eligible for the DV lottery, the key criterias. And well, now I think, Eric, I also have another question to follow. And um, the next question on the screen, please. Let's take it out from the audience. Yes, this is from Sanvi. What is the historical and legislative reasoning behind limiting the DV lottery to 55,000 visas annually? And was this number chosen arbitrarily, or is it based on a specific immigration policy or goal?
This is a great question, and I actually asked our team to prep this because this is a really interesting question about the whole history of the of the DV and why the why the program was started in the first place. So was I believe the initial allotment for visas when the program first started in 1995 was 50,000. And was it chosen out of the air? Yeah, pretty much. That was a number that was derived by Congress. The U.S. Congress is, of course, the body in the United States that sets our immigration policy. And when the immigration law was amended in 1990, with the program starting in 1995, that was the number that Congress determined was going to be the number. And Congress does things like that by setting the number of people that are allowed into different visa programs. For example, the H-1B visa category is numerically limited. I believe that's what, a 75,000 applicants a year in NIPASA. Am I correct in that number? 75,000 for the H-1B cap. I believe that's it. And there are also thank you. And there are also other types of visa programs that are numerically limited. For example, the Afghan special immigrant visas are numerically limited. The number of there are also other limitations that are not numerically limited, but are regulated by Congress. So yeah, it was pretty much picked out of the air, and it looks like it was probably increased by 10% somewhere down the line because there's probably an increased demand for it. Now, there really has not been any debate over the diversity visa program continuing it, because this has been written into law. Unless the immigration law to the United States changes wholesale, which in the current political climate, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I think it's going to continue at this level for the foreseeable future. Could it be changed if there is immigration reform laws passed in the United States? Could be. Will it ever be eliminated? No, I don't think so. I think it's significantly popular. And I think it has significantly benefited the United States. In the 20 years that it's been in effect. I don't think it's going away. But this is a very well thought out question, Sania. So thank you very much for posting that.
Thank you, Sanvi. Thank you, Eric, as well, for taking this up. And I think we should move on. And if you could quickly give us a few tips, 4 essential tips for being successful to get a DV visa. Folks out there must be wondering.
Yes, I love this. So we're able to move from the theoretical and the legislative part to actually the brass tacks of the details of how to be successful. So first of all, just like any lottery, you can't win it if you don't enter it. There is no charge for this service. You can go ahead and enter in once a year, 1 entry per person. However, if you are married, both of you can apply at the same time. So if the husband wins, the wife goes as his spouse. If the wife wins, the husband goes as her spouse. So if you are a married couple, it does not cost you anything for both of you to apply at the same time, assuming both of you meet the educational requirements and are from the correct country of origin. So, if you're a married couple, double your chances for both of you applying. Second of all, if you're going to be successful and eventually end up getting a visa, you need to check your status, which is usually released around May. You need to check your status as soon as possible, because they are waiting for you to confirm that you are interested in pursuing the visa for it to move forward. So if you wait until May or June, when the visa program has already started issuing and they've already started selecting and informing applicants to come for their visa, you want to be among the first. This program is limited, and on September 30th of each year, if a visa has not been issued, it's not going to be issued at all. So you want to be at the head of the line and try to move through that line of interview and being issued as soon as possible, so that you have your visa in hand in the summer, and then you have plenty of time to make your trip to the United States. I've been in cases where I literally handed a person a passport and said, "You have 48 hours to enter the United States." you go. Just don't go to the airport like right now, because you have got to get on a plane to be stamped in. Because this young lady literally was Cinderella. Because if she didn't get stamped in by midnight on the 30th, her visa was no good. It was a child who was joining her parents, and I told her, I'm like, just go to the airport like right now. So that's very important. So the timing, enter often, follow up as quickly as you can with the timing. Second tip: be certain that you meet the educational requirements. Don't enter in if you don't meet the educational requirements. Know and understand what's called the country of chargeability. So know and understand what country you qualify as. I just had a visa consultation with someone, and because they were of one nationality, but they were born in another country, that created a problem. I think they'll be able to get through because there are ways of providing additional evidence to adjust the country of chargeability, but they were not aware of that. And if they were aware of that, and if they had indicated that information correctly on their DV entry, they would have had no problems. I think they'll be okay. They're going to have to get a lawyer involved to help them, but I think they'll be okay. But it was a simple mistake where if they had just thought about it and if they had been paid more attention, they would have not had a problem. The third thing that I see a lot is bad photographs, technical quality of the photographs, and expired passports. Several times I had to tell DV winners, yeah, your visa is ready to go, but your passport is going to expire in a month. I can't put a visa that's valid for for 3 or 4 months in a passport that is either expired or is going to expire soon. And it took them forever to get a new passport. So if you are going to apply and if you are in the process, make sure your passport has plenty of validity after the date of the visa. Because in some countries it's relatively easy to get a new passport, but I imagine in some countries it's very difficult. So don't let that be the thing that stops you. Second of all, fill out the online application correctly. Read the rules, because any deviation or any inconsistencies on the application will result in the entire DV application being denied. So the rules are very specific about children under 20, unmarried under 21. You have to list them, even if they don't live with you. You have to list your stepchildren, unmarried under 21, even if they don't live with you, even if they are not intending to go to the United States. So if you have an ex-wife, you have a daughter with that ex-wife, but the daughter is not living with you, you've got to include that child on your application form. You've got to include your spouse, even if you are legally separated, even if you are divorced. Got to put them on that application. If you are not yet married, but you're kind of sort of married, but you're not legal. If you're not legally married, maybe you have a religious ceremony. If you're not legally married, that person is not included on your application. If you are legally married, but you're no longer living with that person, but it's not an official divorce, that person has to be on the application. Any sort of mess up like that, done, game over, and your DV is going to be refused. The fourth thing I'm going to suggest, and this is for especially for DVs, do not fall victim to DV lottery scams. There are tons of people out there that say, "Oh, we'll fill out your application for you for free, and we'll send it to you for free," or they will assist you for free for filling out your application. Okay, don't use those services. Only use legitimate immigration attorneys and advisors, because so many people fall victim to the scam where, let's say, for example, you allow some fly-by-night operation to enter in your information, you win, but they don't give you the specific code to access that website to check your status. The scam is they control that code, and they'll say, yeah, we'll give you that code, but you've got to pay us 10 grand. Or you have to enter into a fictitious marriage to someone else who's going to pay us. Or, there's always some sort of scam where they extract money from you. Don't do that. It is a it can be a relatively straightforward process. You can do it yourself. Don't use these DV application or these free filing services. It is a scam, and it can keep you from from receiving something that you are legitimately entitled to. So be very careful. Be very careful. Um, yeah, those are the four. Those are the four things that as a consular officer I saw that made the most difficulty for applicants at eventually getting their DV that once they've been selected.
Thank you, Eric, for clearing that out and for giving us those four essential tips. And I hope that viewers out there were taking notes. That's
Mhm.
for sure. But also, I mean, it's always good to stay vigilant and look out for all these suspicious activities and always avoid to fall into such traps. And if
Yes.
you feel confused, we have experts, and we also have Eric here, who you can also contact directly. And it's you can find his information scrolling on screen. All right, let's move on now to the next question that I have for you, Eric, and this is from Norit, also on YouTube, asking us, how does the DV Lottery's country of chargeability rule impact applicants from countries with high demand, such as India, China, or Nigeria, and what strategies can they employ to overcome this?
Yes.
This hurdle, sorry, let me just, it's a long question. This hurdle and increase their chances of selection. Also, can you explain the significance of the photos section in the DV lottery application, and what are the specific requirements? And there's a
Probably
continuation
best.
to Norit's full question, and best
Practice.
practices for submitting photos that meet the necessary standards and increase the chances of selection. Pretty
Yeah.
long, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So the key reason I wanted to take this question, Nord, this is a great question, and thank you very much for posting this.
Thank you.
Is that he brings up the country of chargeability? So when I mentioned that and he mentions these countries, India, China, Nigeria, of which are not the citizens of which are not eligible to participate in the DV. So um, there are a few ways to adjust this country of chargeability. The first is it can be the country of chargeability can be the chargeability of the spouse. So let's take the example of Nigeria. Okay, if you the a man is are from Nigeria, you are ineligible to apply for the DV. If your wife, however, is let's say from Cote d'Ivoire, okay, small, also African country, but also eligible for the DV. If you win, you can use the country of chargeability of your wife. So even though you are a Nigerian, for the purposes of the DV, the country of chargeability can be the one of your spouse. In this case, Cote d'Ivoire. So that is one way that people who are from these other countries such as India, China, Nigeria, these larger countries can't participate in the DV. It's
Okay.
the country of chargeability of their spouse. The other little exclusion or the other little loophole would be you can try to claim the chargeability of the nationality of your parent. That's a much more exclusive way, and it's so. For example, if you were born in Nigeria, but let's say, for example, your parents were from Sierra Leone, okay, another West African country, and moved to Nigeria, there might be a way for you to use the nationality of your parents. That is a much more specific and much more nuanced thing, and should probably be discussed with a good immigration attorney so you get it right. But it may help. But those are really the only two ways that people from these more populous countries are able to take advantage of the DV, because the DV is a diversity, and so if there are many immigrants from this one country, we really want to encourage immigration from other less represented countries. But that's a very good question, Norit. As for the photos, I can't really speak to the technical qualifications, but here is one thing where it is really important to where I would suggest everyone to make sure the photographs are of the right quality, the right size. So spend the money, go to a professional photographer, It's the same as a U.S. visa, but again, I've seen people mess it up, and any application whose photograph is not technically correct, it will not even be selected. It will be kicked out even before it gets to be selected because of the processes that the Department of State has to do facial recognition and to do the detection of multiple entries. Um, it will automatically kick out any photograph that is not of the right quality. So be very important. Pay very close attention to to that part of your application, because again, if the photograph is of poor quality, you're wearing eyeglasses, you have a hat on, or something like that, where it's not the technical quality, application is not even considered. So make sure that part is correct for it to even make it through the first pass.
And I think it should be one of your latest photographs, right,
Yeah,
Eric?
it has to. Again, that's why that's one of the details. I had a case where the person applied for came for their DV interview, provided the photograph, and it was the same photograph that was in their passport from 5 years ago.
Okay.
Nope, denied, done, out the door. Photograph was not recent, and that was enough for me to have to deny her DV visa if she didn't meet the qualifications. So it was done. So
Thank you.
don't let that, because she was right at the finish line. I mean, she was right there, but because of that passport, the visa was denied.
So to avoid such situations, friends, always make sure that it's the latest photograph at least, and the
Yes,
correct size and quality.
yeah. And trust me,
And thank
I've
you
been
so
there.
much.
You want to use that one that you had done 2 years ago, but you don't. It's no, it's not good.
Yes, and I think folks out there really take a lot of photographs nowadays. It's always good to have one of your passport size as well. Have the
Yeah.
latest, always. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Norit, for such an interesting question. Thank you. Let's move on since we just have some more little time.
Mhm.
Okay, what is the application process for the DV visa? Sorry,
Sure.
for the diversity visa lottery for 2026, and what should people who are selected expect at the interview?
Yeah. So the timing of the DV is very important. I've said this a couple of times, but the window to submit your entry is only for about a month. It's basically October to November every year.
Okay.
If you Google diversity visa and Department of State, if you're doing any type of research on a DV or you're submitting any information, make sure the website has the .gov prefix or suffix, so you know you're entering it into a legitimate site. Lots of scammers out there, but the window only opens for about a month, October to November, pretty much of every year. Then, once your application is submitted, then nothing happens until about May, and that is when the results are put out. The results are only accessible by the using the unique confirmation code that you get when you complete your application. So you will not get an email saying, "Hey, you won." You will not get a phone call from the embassy or from anyone saying you've won. If you do, it's a scam. You have to go back and check, and remember to check the results. And that usually happens around in May. Okay.
Okay.
Now, once things get started in May, and if you are selected, then you're in the running for your application being moved on to the embassy, and then for your visa interview. But you have to keep checking back regularly to know when that date is and know when to follow up with confirming that you're interested. The sooner you confirm your interest, that you actually want to go through with it, the higher on the list you are, and the sooner your interview is going to be. Um, and the consular section is going to interview until they run out of numbers. And again, I've had that happen before where I ran out of the numbers I had midday of like the last day we were doing DVs, and I had 5 or 6 people in my waiting room, and I had to tell them, "I'm sorry, I'm out of numbers. I can't interview anyone else." I had issued the last one that had been authorized for my country. There was nobody else. So you don't want to be in that situation. So keep following up and checking up the results. So
Okay.
at the interview, for those of you who have gone through a tourist visa application or a student visa interview, it's going to be very, very different because the qualification, the thing that permits a consular officer to issue a diversity visa is meeting the two qualifications and being selected and meeting the two qualifications. Other than that, and a few other routine checks, there is really no other hindrance. So when you get to the interview, there's going to be none of this. Why are you traveling to the United States? What's your income? Have you ever traveled outside the country before? There's none of that because you are presumed to be an intending immigrant and you are applying for an immigrant visa. So there is none of that question about your family, how long you're going to stay, anything like that. With an immigrant visa, the consular officer is going to check a lot of your documents. So at the interview, if you are married, bring your marriage certificate because you have to demonstrate that you are legally married to this person who is applying for the visa with you. You want to bring, if you have children, you want to bring their birth certificates, establishing that you are the parents of these children. If you are a step parent, if you are an adopted parent, you bring all of your adoption paperwork and things like that to establish that these are your legitimate children. You want to bring any documentation to show that you meet the education requirement. So if you are a high school graduate, bring all of your high school graduation documents. Bring your diploma, bring your grades. If you are a college graduate, bring your college diploma. Bring anything anything from your university that confirms your educational status. You may want to bring your college and your high school, just in case there's a problem with the college. You can at least submit your high school stuff. So it's a much more document focused process in the interview, and the consular officer is going to be confirming the information that is contained in these documents. So it is a completely different process. It's a much less stressful interview because you already meet the qualifications. If for a tourist visa, I always like to say, you start at no and you have to convince the consular officer to yes. With an immigrant visa, such as a diversity visa, you start at yes, and only if there is a problem with your application, with the meeting the educational requirements, or if there's something else that comes up in the medical or in our in the background checks, the security checks that we do, unless there's something that pops up there, you're good to go.
Thank you, Eric, for making that very clear. And I had a question. You said 55,000. So this lottery just happens once every year, right? And
Yeah.
in case they don't have that 55,000, is it like, do they have another lottery like for the cases of H1B in the previous years, or it's just one lottery annually?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nabasa. So it is one lottery per year. At the end of the year, the program is closed and all that information is put aside. If you want, so you have to reapply every year. There's no rollover. There's no automatic entry in next year's lottery. Is that if you want to apply for 2026, you've got to do it at that when that window is open. If you want to apply for the next year, you've got to physically go and resubmit all of that information for the program next year. Nothing rolls over and nothing is carried over from the previous year. Each year is its own program.
Okay, and it's fixed 55,000. So
Yeah,
whether people
55,000.
drop out or not, I mean, it just happens
Yeah.
once.
And that's the thing because we're constantly getting updates. It's like, okay, Ukraine, you've got 5 left, and as we would start interviewing, we wouldn't be checking, but towards the end, as we were getting closer, because we would keep a tally and we would know, and we would check with our visa office, and towards the end of the program, they would be sending out emails saying, okay, Ukraine, you've got 5 left. Georgia, you've got 15 left. Cote d'Ivoire, you've got 2 left. Just so that because not only is the number restricted overall to 55,000, but there are some geographical limitations. Africa gets a certain percentage. Asia gets a certain percentage. South America gets a certain percentage, and then there are also limitations on the number given to each country. So there's always some little fine tuning in the numbers, but once that cap is reached, there are no more visas authorized. And let's, if we could do one more quick question, because I think DJ has a really good question. So if we could go ahead and throw that up on the screen for everybody.
Rejected for DV lottery. Will it affect future B2 application? And number two question is, have you denied someone a DV? If yes, why? And can you apply again if you get rejected for a DV visa?
Good, great questions, and I appreciate you throwing that up so quickly, team. Thank you very much for that. So, if you don't get selected for the DV lottery, will it affect your B2 application? It can. The consular officer is going to see if you enter in the DV lottery, and the consular officer will also see if you actually came and applied for the DV. So, and they will take that into consideration when they are applying for future B1 B2 applications, because by entering in that the DV lottery, you have at least theoretically put the idea out there that if possible, you would not be against immigrating to the United States. So it is one of many factors that a consular officer can consider, and it can go either way. As we've talked in previous in previous webinars, you need to convince a consular officer for a B1 or B2 visa that you are not intending to immigrate, and the consular officer starts with a rejection, and you need to convince him otherwise. And a proactive step of entering the DV lottery kind of does give the impression to the consular officer that you are interested in immigrating to the United States, which does not really help you when you are applying for a B1 B2 visa. But it is not an automatic disqualification. And I've talked to plenty of applicants, B1 B2 applicants who have applied for DVs. Some were even interviewed, but they ended up not using them. To me, that was a great sign. If someone was actually issued a DV but decided not to use it, then that told me that they were still more interested in staying in their home country, and I felt much more comfortable approving their B1, B2. So in that case, it was a positive. In other cases, I've seen young people from less developed areas of the countries where I was working on, and I saw 8 or 9 DV applications. Again, not against the law, but that told me that they were still really, really hoping for any opportunity to immigrate to the United States, and I was not inclined to approve their B1, B2. Of course, they had other issues and other reasons why I would not have approved their B1, B2, but the fact that they had applied so many times for a DV, that told me that they were definitely seeking immigration opportunities. So therefore, really not qualified for a B1, B2. So. Yeah, it is seen, it is considered, but it can be a good thing, or it can be a bad thing. Finally, have I ever denied someone a DV? Yes, I have. I've denied them for straight up not having the education. This was in Afghanistan, where the education system was so broken for so many years. They did not meet the education requirements. They could not establish that. And they did not have the work experience, so I did deny them for that. I've already told the story of having to run out of visas that I could have issued. There were instances where people did not disclose that they had children, and which was a requirement, the disclosing on the application form. I've had some medical issues come up where people did not meet the medical requirements. Usually it's infectious diseases and things like that. And while they could have gotten treatment for their disease and redone their medical, by the time they did that, the program had closed, and so their visas were effectively refused then. And finally, can you apply again if you are rejected for the DV visa? Well, you can enter the program again. You can certainly do that. But once a consular officer makes a determination if someone is qualified or not for the DV, then that's it for that for that program year. So let's say, for example, that you are not a high school graduate and you don't meet the educational requirement. then that's not going to change. So, if you were to reapply for the program next year, that ineligibility is still going to be there. Um, if
Yes.
the application was refused for a medical thing, then maybe you have a chance to redo your medical and to have that condition cleared for, and then you could come back. And if I had a visa, I would be, had a visa allocated, then I could follow up and issue. Um, so it really depends, but there is no prohibition if you are refused a DV visa 1 year from you entering the program in the next year.
Okay. Thank you, Vijay, for that very interesting question. And I think we are almost coming to an end. But Eric, if we can quickly take this one last one. This is from
Yes,
TKK, asking on YouTube, how does the selection work, by humans or computer?
it is computerized. Um, it is the people are randomly selected based on their country of chargeability. There is one slight I'll get into the weeds a little bit, that it is the computer algorithm is designed so that one country cannot take more than 7% of the visas. So if by random, Cote d'Ivoire gets a massive amount of people who are randomly selected, that's cut off at 7%. So 7% of 55,000 is, I don't know, I went to American public school, so I don't know math that well. But if a country receives more than that amount, then people from that a country are no longer allocated any more visas in the random selection. But otherwise, yeah, it is random by geography with that one little caveat, and then people are and people are notified of winning based on that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Eric, for taking that up. And well, once you selected, I mean, you won the DV lottery basically among that 7% from your country.
One quick caveat. You're sort of correct, Nipasa. A lot, and I want to correct this. So I'm glad you said it, because I think a lot of people think that having your name selected in May guarantees that you will get the DD. No, it does not, because we know that so many people do not use their DDs. We over select names. So just like an airline's overbook their flights because they know some people are not going to show up for their flight,
Yes.
the same thing happens here. In fact, the number of people selected in the lottery is about 100,000. Is over 100,000, because we
Okay.
know how many people are not going to use their visa. So just because you have been selected, congratulations, that's awesome. But it does not necessarily mean that there will be a visa guaranteed for you at the end of the process. Um, because it's such an inexact science, there are always going to be a few people whose names are going to be selected, but who are
Yes.
not going to be able to get their visa at the end of in the summer. So um, please be aware of that for everyone out there, and I wish you luck being selected and going through the process. But please be aware that being selected is not a guarantee that you will 100% have a DV visa ready for you at the by the time you get to interview. You may not. So
Okay.
unfortunately, we just don't have any way of being more precise than that, because we always know some people are going to apply and be selected, but not use that opportunity. We just don't
Right.
know who they are. So consular officers try to maximize that and to issue every last visa that they are authorized to, but just sometimes there are people who are selected, and come September, they're not able to be issued.
Okay. All right. We'll have the last question for the day. Sorry, folks, if we couldn't take up yours, but Jayesh is asking, Sir, do you have any advice for me? What should I do? I have issued F1 visa in 2008, but rejected in 2024 B2 visa.
Right. Sure. So you were applying. So it sounds like you went to the United States, that you studied in the U.S. There's not a lot. You didn't provide any more details about about your case. Um, Usually, if someone has traveled, oh, here we go.
I I have finished my F1 back then in 2008 to 2012 because I got fully funded scholarships from the government. And
Okay.
it was like 10 minutes interview. Every question she kept coming back to the travel history.
No, okay.
And at the
Uh,
end, she said with hesitation, I'm sorry, sir, I cannot approve your visa unless you travel outside Asia. Guess she really wanted to see a pattern of travel. Even
right.
I have issued F1 visa before.
Yeah. Okay, Jayesh. Yeah, I think I can. I think I got a better idea of your situation. So, um, just because you've been issued an F1 before and you've used it appropriately, I'm going to assume that you have. You studied, went to the United States, maintained your grades, got your degree, came back to India or wherever, and started your career. Good for you. I'm going to assume that's the case. Even then, that is not going to necessarily guarantee that you are going to be guaranteed a position to receive a B1 or B2 visa. Um, Everyone has to demonstrate at every interview that they meet the qualifications for the visa at that time. So while your prior use was good, your current situation, such as economic ties, professional ties, family ties, may not be there for you to may not be necessarily enough for you to be able to secure a B1, B2 visa. Um, you know, there's there's that situation in life where yeah you've gotten your degree and you are starting your career and you are building your professional ties and you are establishing yourself financially. Maybe you're buying your first car or you're thinking about buying your first apartment or something like that, and you're kind of building yourself, but maybe you're just not there yet to meet the qualifications that the consular officer deems appropriate for a B1 B2 visa. You're just in the middle. And I've interviewed tons of people like this, usually young professionals who are just getting started, and they just weren't. I just was not comfortable issuing them a B1 B2 at that time. What I would do is I would, especially if I thought this person had potential, I would put in my case notes something like, applicant doesn't meet the requirements at this time. However, with more professional development, could be a good issuance. Just to let the next officer know that in a couple of years, when that person reapplied, that the consular officer who saw them then was really on the fence, and which is an English expression would just mean just could not make a solid determination, and thought you had a lot of thought that person had a lot of possibility, but was just not approvable at that time. So that way, I hope that the new consular officer would be able to see that with a little bit more professional experience, this person might be issuable. I think that's the same thing that's in your case. So my advice to you: keep building your professional tiles, keep working at your job, keep doing a great job using your education that you gained in the United States. Keep building your financial stuff. Buy a car, buy your flat, things like that, and
Mhm.
keep establishing that you are an international traveler. Travel is also considered to be something that a consular officer is going to look at. So, if that is you, take some trips, establish a pattern of travel, and I think if you do that, in a couple 3 years, if you were to reapply, I think you could make the case that you are a much more stable, you are a much more financially sound, and a much more well-traveled applicant. And I think that will put you in a good place for getting that B1 B2 visa. So I
Thank you
hope
so
that helps.
much, Eric. Yeah. Sorry, you're adding. But thank you so much, Eric. And really, Jayesh, very interesting question. So basically, Eric, just one clarification I really wanted, maybe for all our folks out there who are watching us also. So once a person gets selected in a DV lottery, wins it, and goes on a DV visa to America, how long can that person be there?
Be there as in live in the United States
Yes,
forever. The
forever.
purpose of yes, forever, as long as they want to. Um, it gives the person the right to immigrate permanently to the United States. And in the United States, we are, our immigration system is based on the philosophy that people want to come to our country, they want to stay in our country, and they want to become eventually become citizens in our country, and we make that process as easy as we can to encourage that by being very welcoming of immigrants, and after a time, and after they've met some qualifications, giving them citizenship, which allows them to permanently reside for the in the United States for the rest of their lives. So you can live in the United States on a DV for as long as you want. I have actually met people but on the other hand, I've met people who have gotten the DV, gone to the United States for like 6 months, and they're like, "Nope, I'm done. I want to go back to Ukraine, or I want to go back to the Philippines, or I want to go back to my home country." It was difficult finding a job. Maybe they didn't. They had problem culturally adapting, financial issues, family issues, or whatever. And I've known people that have been in the United States, got the DD, and after 6 months came back to their home country, and they were no longer interested in pursuing that. They're immigrating to the United States. So how long can you stay? You stay as long as you want.
It's totally up to you. All right. Thank you for making that very clear. And thank you for this whole session today. I held you up a little longer than an hour, but thank you, Eric, for doing this. Really
Well,
such an honor and a pleasure to have you
I gotta
here.
say, our audience had some excellent questions. So kudos to everyone watching and everyone who participated in the chat by giving us questions. The wonderful, wonderful, nuanced and very specific questions. So thank you very much for that. It shows that we've got some people that are very interested in this topic, and I hope I was able to help answer those questions and give them that information. But I got to say, kudos to everyone out there for really making that happen. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Eric. I mean, you made my part easier as well. I was just going to say that, but thank you for taking the words out of my mouth. So, thank you, all you folks, for all those wonderful questions. You make this session a very interesting one, really. And in case we couldn't answer each one of yours, we'll surely try and have the answers from Eric and maybe comment them. So, thank you once again, friends. And if you're watching this after the show has ended, after the streaming has ended, also, you can keep commenting your questions. And once again, thank you so much, Eric, for doing this. Such an honor and a pleasure to have you here. And thank you for making this entire webinar a very insightful one and a very interesting one.
Well, you're most welcome. Thank you for having me back. I always enjoy these opportunities. So well, happy to come back.
I'm already looking forward for our next session. So thank you. Thank you. Have a great day ahead. Thank you, friends. And there you go. If you want to contact Eric G Morin, Udeti Visa Consultant and retired U.S. Foreign Service Officer, you can always call him on this number. You can note it down, 630-303-6165. You can even email him. Hello@udetivisa.com and visit his website. The website is udetivisa.com. You can get to know more about Udeti Visa experts and also about Eric G. Morin. And you can also book a consultation with Udeti Visas. And all you have to do is use this promo code to get a 15% discount. And the promo code is IT People. So this is going to be very helpful, and you should definitely go book a consultation with Udeti Visa. Folks, thank you so much once again. And if you have any questions related to immigration, jobs, and you're probably looking for a project placement, H4, EADs, green cards, anything, feel free to contact me as well. My number is 408-335-6444. My email address is neep@higherightpeople.com. And that's my number also for WhatsApp, by the way. And in case you want to know more about us, definitely go visit our website, www.higherightpeople.com, to get to know more about us. And if you haven't as yet subscribed to our channel, this is the time. Go subscribe, hit the bell icon, because we keep having discussions like these, which are very interesting, helpful, and free of cost. So all you have to do is subscribe, and you will be notified when we have webinars as interesting as the one we had today. And also, if we update you about news on immigration and jobs. So, thank you so much once again, friends, for joining us today. And another good news before we go is for all you Telugu speakers out there, we are going to have Immigration and Jobs Talk Show Telugu channel very soon, so look out for that as well. Stay tuned to our channel. And once again, thank you so much. Y'all out there have a fun Friday ahead and also a very happy weekend. But also stay tuned to this space for more updates on immigration and jobs. This is Nipasa Pradhan signing off for now.
Officer who adjudicated over 40,000 cases, I saw many applicants struggle to communicate their purpose of travel and finances during the visa interview. With better preparation, many could have secured their visa. At Udeti, I offer one-on-one visa interview strategy sessions. Let my experience be your guide so that you can ace your visa interview.
Consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H-1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us in the number 408-335-6444 or mail us at nipa@higherightpeople.com or visit our website www.higherightpeople.com.